I'm tired of misunderstood villains. Villains are not supposed to be misunderstood. Nothing is supposed to be about somebody being evil or somebody doing bad things. If the whole point of a character is to just them being misunderstood and them having good intentions but just bad execution, that's not a villain. If I have a villain, that villain needs to just be just that, a villain. They do not need to be a misunderstood anti-hero, because at that point they're not a villain. Because at that point we're not making villains to make them be evil. We're making villains to turn them into heroes. A villain's job isn't them being misunderstood or, having good intentions and them actually wanting to, make the world a better place. That's not what a villain is supposed to do. A villain is supposed to be evil. I don't even care if their motive for being a villain makes no sense. I genuinely do not care. I just want my villains to be evil. I don't want anything else but a plain, simple villain. I don't want any misunderstood villains. I want my villains to be evil just for being evil's sake. I don't care if they're evil because they stubbed their fucking toe when they was a kid and now they just want to ruin the fucking world. I just want a plain old simple villain who is evil just for the sake of being evil, and a villain that just actually acts like a villain.
Now a word from our sponsor.
Hi, before using Dubby, I was a father of 12. But now, after Dubby, I'm a deadbeat dad. Oh, brother, this guy stinks! Let's see what we got in here for the Dubby. Big Dubby! We got the motherfucking... We got the motherfucking... Oh, shit. So the first flavor of Dubby, we have peach and beet.
You what?
Second flavor of Dubby, we got the dragon milk. Next flavor we have laxative.
What?
Oh, Laxy grenade. Next flavor we have this is a zero sugar powder pack. And last but certainly not least, we have Heinz Berry Splash. I'm Wasabi, and this has been your Dubby advertisement.
Now, this isn't necessarily a new phenomenon, but I feel like nowadays it happens more often than not when you have villains. And this is across anime, video games, movies, superhero movies, but you mainly see this in superhero movies or live action movies where the villain is supposed to be this misunderstood kind of they want better for the world, but their way of going about it just isn't right. It's kind of like they're making every villain in the Thanos way, where Thanos his general idea of making the universe a better place is good, but his way of going about it is just the wrong way. And that's fine to do every now and again, where you have a villain that is a misunderstood kind of antagonist that can have the possibility of being a protagonist. But I feel like we're seeing it a bit too much, if I'm being honest. I feel like a lot of the times we're missing that, just regular old villain who is just evil for the sake of being evil, and there is no later down the line we find out he has this tragic backstory as to why he's a villain, and he really has a protagonist like backstory, but he went and turned evil instead of using his powers for good. I feel like we have just a bit too much of that now. And I'm not saying that villains can't have tragic backstories. I'm just saying that the tragic backstory does not need to make us feel sympathy for the villain. I feel like once we get to the point of we're feeling sorry for the villain or feeling sympathy or agreeing with the villain's motives, then that kind of ruins the whole evil aura that a villain is supposed to have. They're supposed to feel evil. They're supposed to be this piece of shit that we just can't agree with in the slightest fucking bit. But once we start to feel sympathy for a character, that all kind of goes away, because every bit of evilness that they actually had isn't there anymore, because they had this tragic childhood and I feel so bad for him, if only he could use his powers for good, then that doesn't really feel like a villain anymore. It just feels like a misunderstood protagonist. And to give a more specific example, Broly from Dragon Ball Z. Now, I love Broly from Dragon Ball Z. He's one of my favorite DBZ villains of all time. if not my favorite, he's like right behind Cell for me as far as like DBZ villains go. I love the original concept of Broly. I love Broly being just this, you know, ticking time bomb of like rage and anger versus the Broly that we have now, which is more of, you know, a controlled rage. You know, once he learns how to control his powers, he can be a Z fighter type bro. I don't mind that type of storyline for Broly, but I miss the old Broly where once he went into Legendary Super Saiyan form, he just was this unstoppable rage machine that just wanted to kill, that just wanted to just destroy shit, and he didn't care about how it made anybody feel. Even when he killed, you know, the dude who had the headband on him, like, it just didn't matter to him. That's what I miss about Broly. I miss Broly just being this, you know, rage machine. And yeah, you know, his motive for, you know, not liking Goku was stupid with the baby crying and all that, but him just being this raging, you know, Super Saiyan, beating the ever-living shit out of Goku and Vegeta and everybody else, made Broly what he is. Like, even his transformation I prefer more because it's literally just his rage taking over him and just becoming this monster, like literally like becoming a monster with no fucking pupils or eyeballs. Like, he's just rage like incarnate. And when I heard they were bringing Broly back for Dragon Ball Super, I thought they were gonna kind of like, you know, give him more of a deeper reason for having that rage. But they kind of turned him into, you know, somebody who, you know, just can't control their powers and not necessarily what he used to be and what I liked about Broly. Now, I'm not saying that the new Broly is bad. I just wish that he was, you know, like he was. I just miss how he was in the original Dragon Ball Z series. And to kind of go from there, another example of a villain who is just a villain who you don't feel sorry for, and they are a villain straight up and down. There is no misunderstood. There's nothing. Fire Lord Ozai from Avatar: The Last Airbender, I feel like is not talked about enough as far as like great villains go, just overall, because we didn't even see Fire Lord Ozai's face, I think, until like book 3. Like, the show is damn near done before we even see Ozai's face, but we already know just because of the things that he's done to the other 3 tribes, just how much of a piece of shit he is, and he doesn't care. There is no like, you know, he had a bad childhood, so that's why, you know, he wants to, you know, burn down the whole, you know, Earth Kingdom and everywhere else to build a new Fire Nation, everything like that. He's not what Azula ended up being after He's not what Azula ended up being after she lost to Zuko. He's not that. He's the total opposite. We don't feel sorry for him when he loses his powers. We don't feel sorry for him after Aang beats him and take away his bending. We don't feel sorry for him at no point in the show. Like, none at all. There's no sympathy for him in the slightest fucking bit. Because we all know that he's the reason that his kids are as fucked up and traumatized that they are. He's the reason that Azula ended up losing her fucking mind. He's the reason that Zuko has to go through a whole life-changing journey because he wanted to basically burn his son alive for speaking out of term in a war meeting. Because he was, again, being a psychopath. He didn't care about, you know, pushing new soldiers in just to die so that they could get the advantage in a fight. He didn't care about any of that. None of that bothered him. That's what I mean by like a classic evil villain that's just evil. Now,